housing and then have moved out and have become successful individuals. So these individuals are recognized because they are role models. Now, along with celebrating the achievements of two former Hoboken housing residents, today we also celebrate Juneteenth.
That's right.
Or Freedom Day, right? So it commemorates the ending of the slavery in the US, right? So just a little bit of history on that. So on September 22nd, 1862, when then President Abraham Lincoln, he announced that the Emancipation Proclamation would go into effect on January 1st, 1863. However, it wasn't until June 19, 1865, or 900 days later, that it then became into effect. Furthermore, it was only 4 years ago that it was recognized as an official holiday in the United States. And today we celebrate 160 years since that proclamation. So I wanted to put that out there. I'm multitasking here, but that's okay. So this event, I wanted to talk about the Hall of Fame, right? So this is the 4th edition of the Hall of Fame. Since 2022 when it started, we've had, after tonight, we will have 11 inductees into the Hall of Fame for the Hoboken Housing Authority. Those were the first 3, can you see? Hi Michael, how are you? So these were the first 3 inductees into the Hall of Fame, and you probably recognize them. Then we had another 3, Kayla, who is she's related to somebody that works for housing, right, Sammy?
She works in DC.
She works in DC. She works in the Hill. Jason Banks, John R. Lynch. And finally, perhaps some familiar faces to you. Ricardo Figueroa, Evelyn Mercado, y Annette Chaparro. I think Eric knows Annette Chaparro. See, small world, right? Now, before I pass it on to the director to give the welcome, as I was preparing for this event, right, I was thinking, a lot of thoughts came into my mind. One was a Bible verse that says, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" So I took that and I applied it to tonight, and I said, well, can anything good come out of housing? And in both cases, the answer was and is an outstanding, resounding yes. Right? Give yourself an applause. Yes. Yes. So tonight we bring you 2 former residents who grew up during the time where it was not called housing, it was called the projects. Right? Yes. So as you listen to the stories, right? Review and reflect. Where are you going? What are your plans for the future? Accept and decide where you can go. Listen and receive advice from 2 former who once were in your same shoes. Take action and feel empowered to move forward. Now, I'm going to have the Executive Director for the Housing of Hoboken to give the welcome remarks.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you so much. We have had some kids on the way someplace. They're lost somewhere in Hoboken, kind of on the way. What's the Lost Tribe? That's wandering around looking for the place to land. So hopefully they'll land here soon. We've got some folks that are bringing them over. But I, again, would like to welcome everyone here, particularly our honorees tonight and all the great folks that are in the audience. We do have 3 of our commissioners here tonight. Well, two of our commissioners here tonight. One of them was our commissioner until last week. And then he jumped off the board and we had somebody else coming on. So I would like to recognize our former commissioner as of last week, Councilman Michael Russo is here. And we've got our vice chair here, Erica Seitzman. And Dave Edwards. So thank you for being here, and thank you for all of your support. We've got some of our great residents here. Thank you all for coming, and we'll keep this up. We want to get this message over to everyone in the Housing Authority, but certainly particularly our youth. Because tonight is in many ways about history, not only June 19th, right? It's about our history, it's about the Hoboken Housing Authority's history. And people don't always realize it, but great people come out of the Hoboken Housing Authority. They're everywhere. They're all over the country, right? They're all over the country. People that have grown up here are part of our culture, part of the Hoboken Housing Authority's very fabric, that because of the Hoboken Housing Authority have gone on to do great things and gone on to be successful. Anyone who thinks that their life is bordered by 2nd, 6th, Jackson, and Marshall is wrong, right? And anyone who thinks that just because we may all not immediately know these two fine gentlemen doesn't mean they're not out there doing great things, right? I'm one of those that I waited till 30 till I left my home place, right? Cleveland, Ohio. Great Cleveland, Ohio. But, you know, and many of my friends stayed, and that's great. And I think I would have been doing good things there. But I went to other places to do good things. And I'm just so proud that my path has taken me to be an executive director of a fine housing authority with a fine history, and that I have been able to go to other places and do good things and help people. And I'm proud of that. And I think these two gentlemen can be proud of where they've been too, because what does it take? It takes tenacity. I love that word. That tenacity. It takes that getting up every morning and doing it, right, gentlemen? That you just got to keep on going. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in your history, your background. You got to believe in that lady in the next building that grabbed your ear and drug you in, right? And said, "Don't do that anymore." Right? That was my neighborhood too. And believe me, that still goes on. You know, even though it's a little bit changed over time, it still goes on. So, if you don't know these gentlemen, tonight you will. Get to know them. Get to know what they do and how they do it. Take it back to your families. Take it back to your kids. Say, look, if you're feeling that this area doesn't give you the opportunity that everyone else in this country has, look at what happened back on Juneteenth when this country was proud enough to actually, after great struggles, free the slaves. The civil rights movement in the 60s, when we made that progress. Well, you also can take a step out. You can enjoy the benefits of what this country at its best, we're not always at our best, sorry, but this country at its best can actually accomplish, and the people in this country can accomplish. These guys are living proof of it. I think I'm living proof of it as well. If you work hard and you make it happen, you can do some things. Go out into this world. Go do what you want to do, because you really, really can make it happen. Whether you've come from Harvard, whether you've come from Boston, New York City, or the wonderful city of Hoboken, New Jersey, and grew up in what used to be the projects and what we're now proud to call the Hoboken Housing Authority. So I'd like to welcome you all here, and I would like to hand it back to Sandy to go to the next period. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. And finally, without further ado, actually, I wanted to recognize two members of the community that are here tonight. They are the interim pastors at 105 Jackson, Roger and Maria Cubillas in the back. I wanted to invite them as well, so they're here. Thank you for coming. Without any further ado, we present to you the first speaker of tonight. He has been the purchasing manager at Deer Path Construction Corporation for more than 30 years. 28 years. So he's been there working. He is also a pastor at Spanish congregation at Hope Center in Jersey City, and it also oversees, or at least what I saw, marriage ministries. Please put your hands together for Carlos Lopez.
pressure.
Let's put our hands together for God, because without Him, nothing is possible. Amen. I'm honored to be here. Truly an honor. I'm Hoboken. No matter where I'm at, Hoboken will always be home. I remember Mom telling me when she was pregnant with me, we lived in right by Biggie's, the last floor. She was pregnant, and then we moved to First and between Observer Highway and North Avenue, First and Garden. My first wedding cake, and I explained that a little bit later, was from Carlos Baker before he was the cake boss. So Hoboken is definitely in my DNA. I remember as a kid, I didn't grow up, wasn't born living in the project, but my aunt used, don't say this, don't tell anybody, my aunt used to take me to church on First and Jackson, where they're intern pastors now, and I used to sneak out and go visit my friend Eric over at 312 Harrison, and we used to play football, right, during church service, and I got to meet a lot of people in Hoboken that we're still great friends today, and fast forwarding, right, we eventually moved into 516 Marshall Drive, apartment 7C. I don't know where y'all live, but that was before when Pino's was there. Remember Pino's Junkyard? We taking it back, right? I seen many things happen from the 7th floor. We had the Conrail, right? Remember the days of the Conrail, and people throwing stuff over the junkyard and trying to make some money. I'm not ratting. I'm just telling you what I seen. The old Hoboken, the old projects, so I did that. I'm a graduate of Hoboken High School. Once a Red Wing, always a Red Wing. 1986, I'm dating myself. But that year, for the first time, basketball, we went to the state finals, almost to the championship. I have still good friends with a lot of those players. I didn't play. I was a cheerleader without pom-poms. But I used to root the team on because I love basketball. I love sports. And so that 86, I graduated, sitting in the projects. Okay, what do I do? What do I do with my life? What do I do with my life? No direction. One of my friends, I'm gonna not name him, but I think he's still here today. He said, "Hey man, I'm gonna go take the military exam over in West New York, right on Bergen Avenue, West New York." I said, "I'm not doing anything." I said, I'll go with you. And that was a bad move at the time, but it turned out to be a great move. Why? Because as he's taking the exam, the recruiter's in my ear. Take the exam, take the practice, take the practice. No, I'm not gonna take it. No, I never even seen an Army commercial. No, it's not for me, it's not for me. Well, guess what? He got me. I ended up taking the exam. I passed, my friend didn't, we were going after buddy system at the time. He didn't make it. I embarked on a military career that put me on a plane for the first time to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. I call it Fort Lost in the Wood, Missouri, because there was nothing out there in Missouri. And which took me to Fort Lee, Virginia, which we call it Fort Leisure, Virginia, because it was so relaxed. And then to Fort Riley, Kansas, to the 1st Infantry Division. And from there, from Fort Riley, Kansas, I was blessed to go to Mojave Desert and train in Fort Ord, California. It took me to a little kid from the one mile city to Baumgartner, Germany for Reforger. So it was all, I was like, forget about New York. You're talking about everybody 18, 19, 20 years old going through his whole life change. We had no idea what he was going to do with his life. And so I embarked in that. Then it took me to, I ended up going to the reserves, Caven Point. That was the point where Desert Storm was happening. And I had just met my beautiful wife right there. And I told her, I said, they called me because they took half my unit. I said, if they called me and you is a wrap. I said, because I'm not even worrying about bullets over my head and about a girlfriend back home. I got to focus on coming back home. But thank God that they didn't take me. They didn't take me, and everybody from my unit that went came back. And they're good today. Thank God for that. And so for James Boyce, all in all, I did an 8-year military, had an 8-year military career. Ended up God was good. God was good. I did 8 years. I ended up with E4 promotable. That's just a step on the sergeant. Honorable discharge for the glory of God. And then I came back home. to 560 Marshall Drive, right? Apartment 7C. Looking slim, looking strong, but still had no direction. Okay, now what do I do? I remember God is so good because He ordained this tonight, right? This is my childhood friend that's been with me through the thick and thins of life, good, high, and low. I tell people, and if the youth was here today, I would tell you, society makes it seem like you got to surround yourself with a lot of people. No, you need to surround yourself with people that are going to push you and make you better and breathe the life into you, right? And I thank God that I had people like Eric and his mom and I know his sister in diapers. I tell this, and it is so true. I don't want to embarrass her, but the truth of the matter, then I came back home. I had no direction. I met my beautiful wife, and can I be transparent tonight? I was living 560 Marshall Drive, apartment 7C. She was in North Bergen with a career, with a car, and an apartment. What was I going to do? You know what I mean? So that pushed me to get better and not bitter. You know what I mean? We got to get better and never bitter. Because the only one that can stop you is you. So and she knows we embarked on a journey. We embarked on a journey that I went from this job to that job to that job only to get better. And she would push me and she would say, I didn't have my driver's license. She goes, we're going to go stop and get your driver. You're going to take the exam. I said, really? Humana. And I went in like that, and you know what? I passed the exam. I thought I wasn't ready, but someone was in my corner saying, you could do it. Let's go do it. Yeah. See, sometimes you got those people that push you, don't push them away. Draw them near to you, right? So then I did that, and I applied for so many civil tests. The post office, I passed. Got hired, but I didn't go. Correction officer, Hudson County correction officer. I passed. I did all the exams. It was me and two other guys. One of the name was Carlos as well. And we went to the last thing was a psychological. And we were sitting there and we were looking at each other. Do we really want to do this? Do we really want to do this? Do we really want to do this? And I said, I don't want to do this. And then a year later, truth be told, I seen them both on Hoboken. They go, what happened? He goes, it was too much for them. They lasted a year. It was just too mental for them. They couldn't do it. So thank God I didn't go that route, right? So when I say I'm doing this job as a purchasing manager for a waterproofing and masonry and waterproofing company that restores buildings like St. Patrick's Cathedral, MetLife Building, Racquetball Club, you name those big landmarks in New York. We've worked in them, and I walked into this interview not knowing anything about purchasing, not knowing anything about waterproofing, not knowing anything about the field. I had no clue. I used to just pick things up and put things down. That's what I was good for. But you know what? I said, I'm going to take a chance, right? You have to take a chance in life. We can't keep walking around with, I can't. How about, I'm going to try, and I believe I could. Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask questions. The dumbest questions, the questions not asked. So I went into this interview, and the truth will set you free always. And I went there, and I interviewed good, and they liked me. But I told them right off Jump Street, I don't know anything about construction. I said, but if you give me a chance, I'll learn. I'm eager to learn. I guarantee you I'll put 110% to learn what I have to learn and excel where you want me to excel. And I embarked on a journey for I'm there 28 years and still going strong. And I praise God for that. And I thank God for people that helped me to get to that point. But I wouldn't be able to do it by myself. So I've been there for 28 years, like Sandy said. I know Sandy for many years. I want to share my story about failure, right? Because to succeed, you got to pass through a road called failure. Yeah. But you can't stay on that road. You got to pick yourself up, right? And you got to call a tow truck if you get stranded, right, on the road, because you want to get to your next destination, whatever that be. Wherever that be. So when I got stuck, when I said I met my wife in '91, Carlos Bakery, we married in '91, Carlos Bakery, when it was reasonably priced and good cakes. Come on, can I keep it real? I told you I was going to be transparent, right? And we did it, and then in '94, that road to failure, because I grew up in a home, broken, no direction, no words of affirmation, no push drive. You know, the mentality was you're 18, you're getting out of the house, and you're going to work. They never guided me on what to do next. They just, this is what you have to do. And I ruined my marriage. And that was the failure on the road. So I called the only tow truck that I knew when I was growing up. And that was God. And I called on him that day when I thought the best thing to do, because that's what the enemy wants us to do, is to end life and stop striving and stop fighting. I said, I'm going to end it here, right on First and Jackson, changing a tire on a car that had a flat. I was actually underneath the car because the tire with the rim was oxidized, so I was trying to bang it from the inside to loosen the tire. And I'm being real because I carry two things on my sleeve. I carry my faith and I carry Hoboken blood on my sleeves, right? And I said, I heard a voice that said, if you stick your head out, car run over your head and it'll be all over with. And at the same, almost immediately, I heard, you're going to hell, God can help you. Boom, God can help me. I embarked in a journey in that church in First and Jackson. I went back when my mother was still going there, my sister was still going there, and I said, God, I just want my marriage. Then I realized there's a heaven, there's a hell. I realized that there's a God that loves me. I realized that I can't do these things by myself. I realized that if I put my faith on him, he'll open doors that man cannot open, and he'll close doors that he don't want me to go through. That lasted 6 years. But for the glory of God, this last year we celebrated 25 years of being remarried for the glory of God. That marriage produced a young man by the age of 33. He's 33. His name is Nathan. He's happily married for 3 years. And he gave us our first grandson. Well, his wife did. Gave us our first grandson, Caleb Lucas. When I look back on my journey, and Hoboken made me. You know, Sinatra, coming out of Hoboken, he sang that song, if you make it here in New York, you'll make it anywhere. I'm telling you, you make it in Hoboken, you can make it anywhere. I said, you got to keep your hope, the hope in God. You know, there's a Nike commercial that says, impossible nothing. And that's true to that. Because the Bible tells me that with God, all things are possible. So I just encourage everybody that's here today that you don't have to stay with, you may feel good where you're at, and you may be doing good where you're at, but strive for greatness. There's something greater, there's something better, and you can leave a legacy, not only by saying, you know what, I grew up in Hoboken, and I love Hoboken, but you could say, through Hoboken, it took me, like myself, it took me to Missouri, to Virginia, to Kansas. I never met, Dorothy? Dorothy, you know, in Kansas? Yeah, Dorothy, to Germany, back to Hoboken, the old circles back. I still go to Fiore's. That's much sound, I don't care what anybody tells me. But I want to encourage everybody here that there's a road for success for everybody that's here. And I wish the youth was here. You know why? Because when I gave and Sandy's a witness to this, when I reconciled with the Lord at the age of 28, that's when I contemplated taking my life. And today the mics always mess up when I say my age. I'll try it again. And now that anyway, my wife knows how old I am. I couldn't do it without Sandy was in my corner, a bunch of young adults, and a bunch of teenagers. And I see how they love God and how they worship God. I said, man, if they could do it, I could do it. So whenever you're feeling down, always look up. So the psalmist said it best. I lift my eyes onto the hills where cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord, creator of the heavens and the earth. So once again, I'm honored to be here. I don't know, 12, 14, 15 years in the projects. My mom was the last one to leave, 560 Marshall Drive. She's doing well. Some of you may know her, Heather Galindo. She had her own little posse over there in the project. She goes, tell them about Gene, tell them about us. I said, I ain't telling them about nothing. It's my story. You know? She goes, I was there. But I thank God for Hoboken. I thank God for, I was telling the gentleman that the people that pull my ear when they see me going south. Parents here, don't be afraid to pull somebody's ear to save them from the mistakes that we've made in our lives, you know what I mean? Our kids and the teen and the youth, they're gonna make mistakes, but our job as going through that failure and success, our job is to help them lessen the errors and help them succeed. So thank you once again. Once a Hoboken night, always a Hoboken night. God bless you. And on behalf of my son, my daughter-in-law, and my grandbaby Caleb, and my wife Gloria, God bless you, and a big hug. Have a great night.
Thank you, Carlos. It's a great story. One thing I remember about Carlos, when he got to church, he was going through the failure that he talked about. And I remember when he used to pray, he used to say, God, you are my picker-upper. So I always remember that he used to say, because he used to pray out loud, so I used to hear it and I used to laugh. Anyhow, our second speaker for tonight, right? Our second speaker for tonight, he has been with Domino's for 20-something years. And he is currently the Vice President for the East Coast region of Domino's Corporation. He has worked with young people back in the days. So please put your hands together for Eric Ortiz.
Thank you very much. Can we give another round of applause to my brother Carlos? Wait till I start telling them stories about you. First and foremost, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. I'm going to join a lot of the words that Carlos said today. It is an absolute pleasure for us to be here, an honor for us to be here. Thank you, Sandy, for nominating us. And really, it's an honor. We really mean that. We were talking about it for a while. We're like, wow, we've come a long way. Yes. And to be part of this means of the world to us. So thank you again for us. My story is, it's a little different, and at the same time, it's the same story, because I was telling Carlos the other days that as we think about this, we grew up in an environment, and this is 30 years ago, for you guys who have been around, we grew up in an environment that statistically we were supposed to fail, right? We grew up in an environment where you just get through whatever you get through. I was the oldest of 7 kids with my mother, single mom. We lived at 318 Harrison, and to God be the glory. We made it. All of us have a story, a successful story, by the way. All 7 of my siblings, all 6 of my siblings and myself. But we were designed. We were set up to fail. We were set up to fail. Carlos said something very interesting. He said that it's not about having a lot of friends, but it's about having the right friends. Right? And so I'm going to walk you through a little bit of my story as far as Domino's. Sandy mentioned I work for Domino's. I mean, you guys ever had Domino's pizza? We got some Domino's pizza here for you. And I am celebrating actually my 38th year with Domino's. Wow. So started right in high school. And let me tell you why I actually had to go get a job, because Carlos, I don't know if you remember this, but when we were freshmen in high school, it was in 86 to 87. And we both loved baseball, and we actually went for a baseball tryout. And I really loved baseball, and I wanted to play, and I loved the tryout, and I was doing it. But then they told me I had to buy cleats. So I went to my mother and said, "Hey, I think I'm gonna buy some cleats." She said, "Well, I got no money to buy cleats. You got mouths to feed. We're not buying you cleats." So I had to quit. I couldn't have cleats. And that's when I was forced to work for Domino's. And in 87 is when the Domino's, 86 and 87 is when Domino's opened in Hoboken, right here in Hoboken. Actually, it was in Washington Street. It was in Washington. And I got a job delivering pizza. So that's where the story began. So that's when it opened in Hoboken for the very first time. It actually became one of the best Domino's in the world for Domino's, the Hoboken Domino's. So I got a chance so I started delivering pizza while I was going to college. I was going to St. Peter's College in Jersey City. So while I was going there, which is where I met my wife, Maria, she also graduated with St. Peter's. We graduated together there 30-some years ago. But while I was delivering pizza, going to college, I would tell you that I went through a lot. Delivering pizza around here, I would say to some people, "Are you still delivering?" And look, there were some friends of ours that were making a lot of money doing you know what, right? And they wanted to, hey, delivering pizza? Really? You're gonna make it delivering pizza? So we had to fight a lot of those temptations, a lot of those challenges. I tell you what, I was able to manage the store, I became the manager of Hoboken, and long story short, I'm gonna fast forward my career with Domino's. Today, I oversee over 2,500 stores, over 300 franchisees. I oversee a $3 billion business. And we are the #1 pizza company in the world, by the way. I've been able to, in my years with Domino's, I worked 9 years international, been to over 50 countries with the brand, with Domino's, opened Domino's in many different countries, had the experience that I couldn't pay for the experience and for the journey that God has prepared for me, been able to train and meet thousands and thousands of people, youth, right, and been able to be part of the greater part of the brand, but God has used the brand to help me develop myself and also impact a lot of folks. So that's the story of the Domino's world. It's pretty cool, right? I actually lived in Puerto Rico for about 5 years and I oversaw the Caribbean. Think about that. That sounds pretty cool. Well, it was. It was very cool. So even though my journey, my 38 years has been through Domino's that opened in Hoboken for the first time, and I stuck around and been with them for this long, there's another part to the story. There's another part to the story. And the part that, again, I wish the youth were here so we could share, is the part of family, friends, and the values, right? And the values is really the most important. Even though I grew up in an environment that was single parent, right, with 7 kids, I grew up in an environment where we had friends that were doing the wrong thing, right? I grew up in an environment where it would have been easier to take the easier path, or what seemed like the easier path. My mother instilled in us values. She instilled in us not only our faith in Christ, but the values that have lasted throughout our life, right? Doing the right thing is a value. Making sure that you always do the right thing. And it's hard to do the right thing. It is. It's hard to do the right thing. And again, I wish the youth were here because we will be able to tell them that is foundation. Doing the right thing was one of them. Making sure that you're always finding a way to win. Creating those inspired solutions. Finding solutions to your problems. And, you know, we have friends, Carlos and I grew up in projects, and we have a lot of friends who gave up. They give up, right? I learned a long time ago, and as I do trainings, I tell people there's 2 things that you got to remember. Don't quit, don't get fired. Right? Don't quit, don't get fired. Now, sometimes, you know, we get it, right? But you understand what I'm saying. There are folks that constantly quit, constantly get fired. 38 years in a brand, that's a marriage.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, don't be impressed by 38 years. Don't be impressed by the 38 years with the brand, even though it's been phenomenal 38 years. Like I tell you, it's been phenomenal. Don't be impressed by that. What I am impressed by is when you are in a long-term relationship and you still have the same purpose and passion, that's impressive, right? When you're in a marriage for 38 years, but you still have that same purpose, that same passion for each other, and the tenure, well, that's pretty impressive. I have that with the brand. I have that today. Right? I am part of the bigger picture of this particular brand as #1 in the world because I continue to have that passion and purpose. Carlos has that passion and that purpose. You felt it, didn't you feel it today? Yeah. You got that purpose, that passion, and that purpose. And the funniness too, by the way. He's always been that way. We've been friends since, like he said, since like 7 years old. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a quick story how we met. We went to high school, so we were both freshmen. And we were in the homeroom. We were all supposed to be in the auditorium. They call your name and they tell you where to go. So I went to the room. I think it was room 330, if I remember. That's pretty good mind. So I walk in and I see Carlos sitting. I go and I recognize him. He was the only one I recognized from church because we used to go to church together. So I'm like, oh man, are you here? All right, you know, good. We're sitting together, and actually we sat together. I'm like, yes, I have a buddy, right? In high school, that's important to have a friend. Well, as the professor started calling out the names, just to confirm the names, he was in the wrong class. It was a different Lopez. So he gets up there and goes, oh, sorry, you gotta go. So Carlos goes, oh man. So he goes, hey, peace. All right. I said, all right, hopefully I see you at lunch, right? And then he left, And then they kept going through the attendance sheet, and guess what? I was also in the wrong class. I can't make this up. I was in the wrong class. And I was the wrong, different Ortiz. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he goes, no, this is your right room, go. I go to my right room, guess what? He's sitting right there. And the seat next to him was like, oh, it was empty. So we sat there, and for 4 years, we were classmates. Isn't that cool? It was meant to be. And since then,
that was destiny.
That was destiny. That was whatever it was. It has become today a very valuable part of my life because Carlos and I have been friends through the thick and thin. I'm the godfather to his child. He's the godfather to my child. We've been through a lot of tears. We've gone through a lot of stuff. We haven't been angels, right? But to God be the glory. We've been forgiven. That's for sure. And so we've been friends through the thick and thin, and that's what Hoboken. That's what I'm taking out of Hoboken. If today I left this earth and I look back, what Hoboken gave me besides a beautiful family is the friendships, right? And a friend like Carlos, that's a diamond. That's you can't find that. I haven't. I've been to many countries. I have a lot of friends, people that I know, people that I consider confident. But Carlos is ultimately my friend. And where was that born? I was born in Hoboken, right? Walking down the streets of Hoboken. So as we today give patronage to Hoboken and what we've learned and the debt that I owe to this beautiful city, it wasn't that beautiful when we were around. It became more beautiful as time went on, right? But the food has always been great. The food was awesome. I mean, the food was phenomenal. Biggie's, right? When Biggie's was a little Biggie's, yeah. But Clamber House, But what Hoboken gave me the most that I appreciate and I love has been the friendships that I've gotten here today, but it's the right friendship. Again, if the youth were here today, I would tell them that is my ultimate message. That's the one thing I would like them to remember. That is it has to be the right friendship. It has the right decisions. We've made the right decisions, right? Our success is not because we could have made other decisions, right? We could have done that. We know other friends that made the wrong decision. But it's making the right friends and making sure you stay grounded to the right values. So that, I'm not sure is sweet. I can't be where my brother Carlos went out, but he said it all. He said it all because we're both grateful to Hoboken. As I travel the world and as I met many different people ask me, where you from? And you should say Hoboken, originally. I say, I'm originally from Hoboken. I mean, one of my sons was born in St. Mary's. I'm Hoboken. Hoboken. Years ago, people, Hoboken, where's Hoboken? Today, everybody knows what Hoboken is. Honestly. I run to the Hoboken. Oh, I know Hoboken. Yeah, I know Hoboken. Hoboken. Yeah, Hoboken. So Hoboken has come a long way because I would tell you, 25 years ago, I had to explain. I had to put it in a map. You know New York? Oh, yeah, I know New York. Okay, across the street from New York is Hoboken. Right? Today, no. People know Hoboken. So that's pretty cool. Yes, that's pretty cool. All right, I won't take more of your time. Appreciate it again. Thank you for having us. This is an incredible honor for Carlos and myself. So God bless you all.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, everyone. We like the stories that they presented. Eric didn't introduce your sister. Your sister's here.
My sister Mariah. She's one of my sisters.
She also grew up here in Hoboken. Yeah, she's my best friend.
She's got a twin sister.
Yes.
Identical twin sister
Yes.
as well. Actually, they're both graduates of Seton Hall.
Correct. Yes, and I think Michael Russo, you graduated with Merari. Yes, he did. See? Small world. Okay, so I wanted to go on the program. Now we are going to have, where are you? Oh, there you are. Director of Development for the Housing of Hoboken. Frank is going to have the closing remarks, and then after this you give it back to the director.
I do a lot of public speaking. This is the most nervous I've ever been. This crowd, right? What it represents, what it is. And as I was thinking about it, and every time I've come here to the Hall of Fame, I wish that everybody had the opportunity to be recognized, because what you got to experience up here is something that, unless you get this honor, you don't get to do it. You don't get to re-examine and maybe take that opportunity to say, oh my God, putting all the dots together. Having the opportunity to come back and testify, okay? God was mentioned tonight a lot, right? It's love. That's what it is, right? And however you phrase it or whatever you do with that, it's about love. So what I keep thinking about is what this really does and how you can really put this to use for our kids is when you can celebrate other people's wins, you get to win all the time.
That's right.
In all your years and all the success you had, right? I'm sure you had 5 days that were amazing. That's what I've been working for. I got my Hoboken manager job, that first day that you got that job, right? But then it's another regular day and it doesn't matter, and you do it again and again. But if you can celebrate every win of every person around you, you're winning every day.
That's right.
And what happens is a lot of people are wasting their energy hating.
Yep.
So that's the right word, right? Jealousy, that chip on the shoulder, right? That's the hardest part.
Greedy.
And you can't but take that chip off yourself. You know, someone can't take it off you until you feel right. Doesn't matter. So, Angelin, he's always behind the scenes, but thank you for being here tonight. Even though the kids aren't here, they can watch it.
Yes.
We can take it out to them. We can make this event bigger. Let's make it bigger.
Amen.
And for every person that's come up here, you always say, how's the next person going to top it? And you always do. So, good job. Let's keep this going and have a good day. Good.
Thank you, Frank, and thank you to our distinguished honorees today. You guys make me want to be 19 again and start over. Well, maybe not, because I've gone through much of what you've gotten through, and it's really that tenacity, that thing that keeping with it, keeping it going makes it happen. And by the way, I think while we were in, did Phil Cohen sneak in?
Yes.
Twice. There's Phil. Phil's one of our councilmen. Thank you for being here. I would like to, on top of what Frank said, I would like to commit to you and assure you that this film of tonight will go out to our multitude of youth centers. And we will get our karate program kids to sit down and watch it. We'll get our 10 Reasons kids to sit down and watch it. We'll get our baseball kids to sit down and watch it. And you will have an effect over time. 7 o'clock, sometimes it's hard to get folks here, but you will be seen and you will be heard. And you are now, even more than ever, part of the Hoboken Housing Authority. Your picture will be up. You will be part of our Hall of Fame area, and we hope in the future we can call on you. We are just so pleased with you coming here and telling your story. I am absolutely enthused and ready to go back to my passion, right? Because we have that passion here at the Housing Authority. We're going to make this happen. We're going to keep on going. So, with great love and respect, thank you for being here. And I heard this rumor that we've got, is it Domino's Pizza now? We have Domino's Pizza and we got some refreshments, so let's shake hands, get to know each other, and go from here. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Sandy, for putting this together.
You're welcome. Thank you everyone for attending. I'd like to take a picture with the city officials right here, if please, and the commissioners. Thank you.